Well, it's time to talk a little football. We're 52 days away from the start of the college football season. Tonight at 10:15, we've got our Red Zone special to talk about SEC Media Days Day 1. Auburn was part of the circus out in Hoover. That's where Lauren Sisler joins us now. Lauren, good evening.
Good evening, Jim, and you've been here several years now, and like you said, we like to call this the media circus when the coaches come with 3 of their top players, parade them around the hallways here at the Winfrey Hotel, and Auburn on deck this morning, the first team to open the floor. Gus Malzahn, he was joined by his star quarterback, Jeremy Johnson, along with his 2 defensive players, Chris Frost and Jonathan Jones. Now, last year, Auburn's focus was on 13 seconds because that's how close they were to winning a national championship. But after disappointing into last season, their motto is now count on me.
Our motto is a great one because you have to count on me. Trust is a big factor in football. That's why it's a great sport, you know. You have to be able to count on your teammates, you know, on and off the field. You have to be able to rely on guys to do their job so you can get your job done, and you have to be able to trust in the coaches, and the coaches have to be able to trust you.
The team is counting on their starting quarterback, Jeremy Johnson. He has been in the system now 3 years. He is ready to go, ready for this moment to shine. And you could tell it today. When we spoke with Jeremy Johnson, his confidence level is up. He is ready to embrace this new role. We'll have more of that coming up later in sports. Back to you.
All right, Lauren, we'll check back with Lauren in just a few seconds later in this sportscast. Don't forget to tune in tonight for our WIAT 42 Red Zone. We'll be live from SEC Media Days with more from the coaches and players. Florida in town as well. It begins at 10:15 this evening. Sherry?
You're watching WIAT CBS 42 News.
And we are live at the Winfrey Hotel here in Hoover. I'm Lauren Sisler, joined by Melissa Kim. Day 1 now in the books. We had Auburn, Florida, and Vanderbilt all take their turns at the podium. And Melissa, what is the biggest takeaway you took from Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn and his confidence in Jeremy Johnson, their quarterback?
Yeah, you know, Jeremy in that spot this year that was vacated by Nick Marshall. There's a little changing of the guard going on in the Auburn offense with Jeremy Johnson, and also at center, that spot vacated by Remington Trophy winner Reese Dismukes, now replaced by Austin Golson. But what's your biggest takeaway, do you think, from Coach Malzahn talking about Jeremy Johnson?
I think the biggest thing is that Jeremy Johnson has really waited his turn. He's taken notes, and something that Gus Malzahn harped on is that this offense isn't new for Jeremy Johnson. They're not going to change their offense. They're not going to change their philosophy. However, they're going to work this offense around Jeremy Johnson, and this is something that he's been doing. He's been in this offense since he was in high school.
The fact that Jeremy, I started recruiting him in 9th grade. He ran the same offense in high school. He's been our backup for 2 years. I really like the way he's handled himself, and he's prepared for this moment. His teammates and his coaches have a lot of respect the way he handled himself the last 2 years. He could have started for most teams.
Now, Jeremy Johnson has drawn quite a few comparisons to former Auburn quarterback Cam Newton. Of course, he's not interested in being compared to Cam Newton. However, he has taken some advice from him. What's your why? That's the biggest thing that he has learned from Cam Newton through all of this. Now, you had a chance to talk with some of Jeremy Johnson's teammates. What is your takeaway from those guys and their confidence in this new guy stepping in under the helm?
Well, obviously, I think Jeremy has a lot when it comes to the leadership role. He really has kind of taken command of this team, especially the offense. A lot of preseason hype around Jeremy Johnson for a guy who hasn't even played a full season yet, especially when it comes to running the ball. I think the biggest question, the question he was asked most today was, can you run the ball? And the answer, of course, is yes. And Jeremy told me that he wants to surprise the people that think that he can run the ball, but he really wants to surprise those people that think he can't run the ball. Coach Malzahn talked about that a lot, too. This is a guy, he says, that can run a 4.6 40, so pretty fast for a guy his size. Here's Jeremy on what he thinks about running the ball this season.
The offense pretty much going to still be the same. We're still going to run the ball. We're still going to throw the ball. It's just probably be a little more throwing. And like I said, the offense is going to be amazing this year. We got a lot of weapons around me, and I feel comfortable.
No safety, quick wrap.
Also today, Greg Sankey, he's in his first season here as commissioner. We'll have more coming up later at 6, especially on the Auburn guys. And Will Muschamp, that's a question they answered a lot today. We'll be right back.
Well, I've already declared today officially football season. SEC Media Days kicked off. The football season kicks off in 52 days.
Oh, yeah. But for the media, things kicked off at the Winfrey Hotel for SEC Media Days. That's where Lauren Sisler joins us now.
Hey guys, yeah, day one of SEC Media Days now in the book. We got to visit with Auburn, Florida, and Vanderbilt today. We learned a lot of things. Now, one thing we learned is Gus Malzahn's new motto for this year, and that is count on me. And that's coming off one of the biggest turnarounds in college football. And then last year, a very disappointing season. They kind of hit a lull there midway through the season, something they wanted to try and turn around. Now, Gus Malzahn attributes much of that to the defense, and the defense's inability to put pressure on their opponent's offense, especially the quarterback. Enter Will Muschamp.
We were playing pretty good football about halfway through, hit a little bit of a lull. I think a lot of it defensively had to do with we had trouble putting pressure on the quarterback. And anytime you can't put pressure on a quarterback, it makes it extremely tough. When I decided to make a change, you know, I looked at who was out there, and of course, Will was out there.
Now, one word that I heard used a lot today about Will Muschamp is intense. Coming up later on in the show, we're going to hear more about Will Muschamp. Plus, we'll hear from his successor at Florida, Jim McElwain. That's all coming up later in sports. Guys, back to you.
Also still to come at 6, a close
News.
Well, welcome to day one of SEC Media Days. We are live outside the Winfrey Hotel in Hoover. Melissa Kim joined by Lauren Sisler. Auburn starting things off for SEC Media Days this season. And last year, Gus Malzahn always talked about how tough their schedule was. And this year, no different, Lauren, especially with the Louisville Cardinals starting off the season.
A tough run in September for the Auburn Tigers, no doubt about it. And that's one thing these guys really actually enjoy. It's something they talked about. They actually like to come out, be tested early in the season. They start out with Louisville, then they get Jacksonville State at home, then they're back on the road in Baton Rouge, and LSU, certainly a tough game they've got circled on their calendars there. Then they got Mississippi State back at home. Gus Malzahn talks about that schedule and how it sets the bar for the rest of the season.
I think the fact that we do have some youth and some inexperience that are going to have to play. Anytime you do that, you're going to have some growing pains. I really feel like because of that tough schedule early, we're going to have to win some close ones if we want to have a good season. We understand that, and I think that's the big challenge.
And winning some close ones, they've got LSU circled on the calendar. As I said before, those guys are really anxious to go back in Baton Rouge and try to steal a win away from a tough Tigers team this upcoming year. Now, defense will be key for the Auburn Tigers this year as well.
Yep, and with the new defensive coordinator, Will Muschamp, it's incredible to see how much of an impact he's already made. And he's only been here with these guys since probably around the Outback Bowl. And Chris Frost actually told me today that being able to play for Will Muschamp was a big factor in why he decided to return for a senior season. Both him and Casanova McKenzie making those decisions to stay. And add Carl Lawson to that, he'll be coming back from an ACL injury last season, and expect big things for Will Muschamp's defense on Auburn this season.
He's intense. He has high standards. He doesn't waver from his standards, and I think that's really going to help. He's blunt, and he lets guys know where they are.
He brings intensity each and every single day. Being able to really put us in a position to make plays, which we all have seen, and it's really great for us to be able to look at him and be able to trust in him, and all of our guys do.
So leaving the vacancy in Gainesville for the Florida Gators, Will Muschamp leaving there now as the defensive coordinator. Jim McElwain now takes over as the head coach. He used to coach as the offensive coordinator under Alabama head coach Nick Saban. He's learned a lot from him, but he also gives credit to Will Muschamp and those things, the tools that he left him to build a successful program.
We had a lot of guys, go out into the NFL, get drafted, and I think that speaks volumes for the kind of, talent that was there and how it was developed. And now, our deal is we've got to build on those positives. We've got to build on the things that Coach Muschamp and his staff did, and they did a lot of really good things.
And one big question coming out of this, what has Jim McElwain learned from Alabama head coach Nick Saban? And Nick Saban has always said you've got to develop your own identity. Yes, Jim McElwain has taken a lot from the program and the process that Nick Saban continues to preach. However, he's trying to build his own new identity as the head coach of the Florida Gators.
Yeah, I think Coach McElwain called the experience at Alabama invaluable, definitely under Nick Saban. You can imagine that. And you can definitely tell that he's excited to be back in the SEC. He talked about how all the schools that you play away at, they each bring their own tradition. And we'll have much more coming up from SEC Media Days tonight on WIAT 42 News at 10. At 10:15, we have our Red Zone SEC Media Days special, so don't miss it. Guys?
All right.